Have you ever taken a job that scared you a little? One that you didn't really want to do, but deep down you knew would actually help you grow? Well, my very first job did exactly that. And looking back, I think it helped me build a foundation for what I'm able to do with my life today. My first job was as a product representative for a major pet food company. And every weekend, I'd be stationed at a different PetSmart location, and I would set up a fold-out table, laying out product samples and pamphlets, and I'd be walking around the store with a green apron and pet treats stuffed in my pockets. And what was my responsibility, you ask? Well, thanks for asking. It's a great question. It was to approach shoppers, kick off conversations about their pets, and try to convince them to switch over to our brand by highlighting the benefits over the competition. Sounds fairly simple enough, right? Well, wrong. It wasn't so simple, at least not for me. For someone who's naturally on the quieter side, it was hard. On the way to every shift, I'd have a really nervous stomach, and as I got there, I had no choice but to walk up to strangers and introduce myself and make small talk. And that was not my natural preference. I've always enjoyed more deeper, more meaningful conversations, but this job forced me to kind of do the opposite. I used to sometimes dread having to go to this job because I was being propelled into a social environment that I just wasn't comfortable in. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was dealing with social anxiety. And even the thought alone of initiating a conversation with strangers would send a wave of nerves through me before I even stepped foot in the store. And although I'm much better today, I still prefer not to have those kind of interactions because they can be incredibly draining and tiresome. And when my shift was over, I'd often find myself replaying the day's conversations in my head and thinking about what I felt that I said wrong or what I could have done differently. And while I was working, if it ever got to be too much for me, in the moment, I would kind of retreat to an empty aisle in the store, take a few moments of solitude, take some deep breaths, and I would try and center myself before diving back in to the job. So to give you an idea of just how challenging it was for me, I would push myself to say hello to some of the staff, so I'd have a few friendly faces to help me set my nerves at ease when I walked in. And even with people that I got to know with, people I based a baseline of comfort with, I had to still shake off that rust every single time I entered the store. From the front entrance, past the cashier, through the toy and treat aisle, and further back where all these shelves of pet food were found, like each section felt like it had its own social level of difficulty, so to speak. And I would finally feel a bit of comfort and relief once I reached the back where I was more out of sight and I didn't feel like all the eyes were on me, even though they weren't. That's just what it felt like. Now, just to be clear, this wasn't new for me. This isn't something I was only experiencing while I was just doing this job. I struggled with it throughout my high school and university years, and even other jobs that I took after this one. It was simply part of my social reality, one that I had to keep learning how to navigate. Despite all the discomfort I felt and how challenging it was for me, there was something that encouraged me not to give up. And that was the fact that I started to notice that I was actually pretty good at this, especially in one-on-one interactions. That was my sweet spot. As long as I wasn't dealing with multiple people, like I wasn't navigating the crowd, I could lead with a smile, could be myself. I would deliver the opening lines that I practiced, and I would end the conversation on a pleasant note. So, sure, there was plenty of awkward exchanges, but I had no choice but to kind of put those aside, and I would tell myself, I can obsess over those details later, and I would move on to the next customer because I had quotas to meet. And one of my favorites, actually, I don't know where I am, but one of my favorite situations is when I spotted someone, I would start walking towards them. And then for whatever reason, I'd freeze up and I wouldn't say anything, or I would just kind of linger around a little too long and they would glance over at me and they were clearly puzzled about why this random person was just standing around with a green apron like a weirdo. So I would sheepishly kind of say, hi. I'd flash my awkward smile and kind of just shuffle away. And I would then do my best to avoid them and stay out of their line of sight until they would leave the store. Sad, but true. But how did I know those interactions were successful, the one I was talking about earlier? Well, I knew because I walked away feeling good about them. I didn't sense any kind of discomfort or awkwardness from the other person. I felt that my smile was coming from a genuine place, and theirs was too. And those were the little signs that I didn't mess up, that I'd done okay for myself. And over time, that grew into something more. My confidence slowly started to build, and I went from thinking that I was just doing all right to knowing that I was doing well and owning that fact, because people were leaving the store with bags of the dog and cat food that I had suggested. So clearly I was doing something right. It was working. And that was tangible evidence that when I fully committed myself to this strategy, more often than not, it would pay off. That job helped me pay off student loans. It helped me put money aside to buy my first car, my first motorcycle. And sure, I learned a ton about pet food, but the biggest reward wasn't financial. It was confidence. It was communication skills. It was about stepping outside my comfort zone and realizing that I could do this. I can handle this. And I have to give a quick shout out to my cousin Tina for setting me up with that job all those years ago. Even though it was a pretty low stakes part-time position, she still took a chance on me at a time when I had no idea if that kind of work was even for me. And she always treated me with care and respect. And she never said or did anything that made me feel like she doubted I could actually handle the position. And it might not sound like much, but looking back, having someone outside of just your parents believe in you, when you're a teenager especially, it's a pretty big deal. So if you're watching this, Tina, thank you. That meant a lot to me then, and it always will. And if I could talk to my younger self, I would say, stick with it. That the discomfort that you're feeling, that's what growth feels like. And I didn't know it then, but learning to work within my social reality instead of fighting against it or hiding from it was one of the most valuable lessons that I learned. Even if navigating social situations doesn't come naturally to you, even if it can feel really draining at times, every small step, every single one, every step that you take to face that discomfort helps you build strength. It helps you build confidence and resilience over time. So my point here is, if you're on the fence about taking a job or an opportunity that feels like it's just a little bit outside your comfort zone, just a bit too much for you, I would say go for it. Because those are the experiences that shape us the most. And life's too short to just play it safe. And looking back now, even what I'm doing here right now, trying to vlog, sharing stories and reflections on this channel, all of that is built on those same lessons. Growth doesn't happen all at once. It happens one small, uncomfortable step at a time. And that younger, quieter version of me in the green apron, he really couldn't see it. But that job wasn't just about selling dog food. It was about laying the groundwork, the foundation really, for my future and learning who I could become. And the secret is learning to say yes to challenges instead of just hiding from them. If you found something meaningful here, Please make sure to subscribe and help grow this mindful community. It's a place for intentional content that I hope can help us all find a bit more peace. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.